Okay, I need a really good video. I need a video to like just knock my socks off. I want a video about video games. I want a video game video. The game prototype that had to be banned by its own studio.
Game prototype that its creators not only had to stop working on, but were forced to ban from their own studio because of the psychological effect it was having on those who played it. And we've got a copy of it right here on my kitchen table. Now don't be disarmed by the fact that this thing is played on paper or that it looks incredibly simple. This is a game that's won or lost largely based on how well you can manipulate other players. Yes, there are action points and health, but really the true currency of this game is trust.
And even though there were still people who were enjoying it and were deeply invested in it, it was definitely didn't feel like it was worth proceeding with, at the cost of some people.
Is it just Among Us? Isn't it just Among Us? They missed out on their shot, dude. If they had kept working on that prototype, they could have made Among Us and made billions.
That was Luke Muscat, one of two designers who worked on this thing at Halfbrick Studios in Brisbane, Australia, almost a decade ago. You might know that team already as the creators of games like Fruit Ninja and Jetpack Joyride. It was, and still is, primarily a studio that makes mobile games, and in 2012, they were trying to come up with something new.
Around that time, Words with Friends had just taken over the world, and literally everyone was playing it all the time. And so something that everyone could play was definitely something that was on my mind.
Not wanting to commit too many resources to a prototype that might not go anywhere, the pair decided to play test it on paper first and wrangle as many volunteers as they could from around the office. They sent out an email and 16 people signed up, plus Joe. That makes 17, which is quite a few more than the pair had been expecting. Each of the 17 players were assigned a tank on the board at random, represented by one of these squares. And there were a couple of stats to think about too. Hit points, everyone starts with 3 of those. If you lose all 3, you're dead. And range, that's how many tiles away your tank can shoot. Players also have a number of action points at their disposal, and they can use these points to either shoot, move, or upgrade the range of their tank. The last player standing wins the game.
Can I say this game sounds boring as fuck so far? Turn-based tank combat with action points? In what way is that exciting to play?
Which, if I'm honest, sounds incredibly straightforward, perhaps even a tad boring.
Okay,
Let's
sorry.
see if I can change your mind on that. How do players receive action
just love the
points,
video play,
you're
dude.
wondering? Well, they receive exactly 1 per day from Muscat himself, who would wander around the office and hand them out like terrible little candies. And here's the rule that ultimately changes everything. Let's say you've got your tank here and there's another one right there, and you've got a single action point. Now you're in range, ready to attack them if you wanted to, but instead of doing that, you could choose to fire over your action point and give it to them. Meaning that let's say there's a player here with 2 action points and they want to kill this player who's got 3 health. They can potentially convince their other neighbor to give them an action point, and then bam, 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 they can immediately kill this player in one brutal attack.
In my head, I had thought no one would do anything major for a couple of days because I'd really thought it would play out like a game of chicken. Like people would sit there amassing action points, and there would be some cost and some benefit to being an early mover in the game. And then, yeah, it was literally a few hours after, and I think
they wanted to get out of your boring ass game, dude.
Already. and what it ended up being was very quickly everyone mobilized and created this huge faction of 12 or so players. And everyone traded their points around to a single player who was able to then, take 12 actions, which include 9 shots and 3 moves. And so, yeah, 3 people were wiped out before they'd even really gone down to look at the room.
Just take a moment to think about the kind of promises that must have been made in order to get all 12 of those players to work together in unison.
Bro, I remember I got invited to play Risk. You guys on the fucking board game Risk? This fucking kid and his friend and his brother. It was them 3 and then 3 different people who had been invited. So him and his friend and his brother just at the beginning said, we're an alliance, we're teaming up. Which you're allowed to have alliances in Risk, but the understanding is that there's only one player that wins. So there's a little bit of shakiness, like anyone could betray you. But they just said, we can win together. And so if they have half the players and they guaranteed never break the alliance, and they guarantee like we'll never betray each other because they just count it as a win, then there's no fucking point. It's just a dice rolling game. You know, they just start fucking dice rolling, killing us. They have exactly half the armies, and we're not allied. So we lose a player immediately. They just fucking knock somebody out. And so it's me and the other guy are like, well, let's be an alliance to try and stand. So we try to hold out, but they have 3, we have 2. And then the whole time we're like, well, okay, but you guys have to betray each other eventually, right? And the second they beat us, they all just shake hands and end the game. How fucking stupid is that? That's fucking ridiculous.
Either way, over the course of the next 8 days, productivity at Half Brick Studios plummeted.
It started as just a game prototype, but it very quickly took over the office.
The game was intended to be played at people's off hours. Like you have a few moments. Why not go down and check the board? It ended up just being that people were playing the game constantly and doing work in the moments where things weren't happening. So that kind of got a little much.
Playing the game in this context doesn't just mean being in.
Yeah, this kind of happened at Twitch with Smash Brothers Melee. I'm not gonna lie. I like it's been long enough. I can tell you, Smash Fever swept the office. Specifically after we added ranking wall, where we got on the wall of the break room all of our names in the office on Velcro strips on like a ladder kind of thing, like a thing. And if you ever beat somebody, you got to rip their name off the wall, satisfying Velcro sound, and take your name and put it above them. And that really started catalyzing not only more practice, because nobody wanted to be the worst. It was sick as fuck, but it was not good for productivity. I will say that.
We'd made this elaborate plan. I'd formed up with a whole load of people. We'd spent a solid 10 minutes in the room discussing the logistics and whether or not we had enough points to make the necessary sequence of moves and kills and everything like that. And so we were all in agreement. I handed my tokens to this person who just looked at me and said, and now you're dead, and dropped the token into the box and just backstabbed me right there.
This is the floor plan for the area surrounding the boardroom.
Holy shit, that's fucking cold. Oh my God, he looked him in the eye as a coworker in the office.
A later investigation would reveal that at least 5 employees who weren't actually playing the game themselves had been feeding information to those who were. A number of them sat at these desks right here with clear sight lines of the game and anybody who was taking actions throughout the day.
People were literally bribing
Spying.
people who were near the room where Tank Turns was to let them know over Messenger when somebody was approaching the room.
What did they bribe them with?
Money.
There's one of the gameplay mechanics I haven't mentioned this.
That's so wild.
One of the in short, as players are eliminated from the game, they become jury members who once per day get to vote on which player they want to help out. If any player receives 3 votes from the jury, they're given an extra action point. Think about it, if you betray too many people, even if they're defeated, they're going to hold that grudge against you into the afterlife, and suddenly your new opponents that you encounter later on are the ones getting...
Bro, what a fucking boring game. If I get eliminated turn 2, I have to keep fucking filling out jury applications for days? That seems so boring for like 99% of the gameplay.
There was an email thread going around throughout Tank Tactics involving all of its players, in which, amongst other things, grievances would be shared about certain co-workers' actions. Sometimes this might be a light-hearted attempt to sway the jury, but at others, it was more about venting frustration. And remember, this game is all about trust, so think about what that might do to a workplace. If, someone is saying, "Don't trust Alan from accounting, he's a liar." Certain emails were even being sent anonymously, and that's when things really start to get out of hand.
The one I remember is I believe there was a betrayal, and it was between 2 people who were very close friends. One of them saw it more as a game, and the other one saw it as a personal betrayal of a friendship and of intrapersonal trust.
Big personalities in the mix, and I mean, kind of frankly as well, different levels of seniority.
Yeah, you betray your boss for fun in the game, all of a sudden, hey, that's why I let my fucking VP of marketing headshot me in that Call of Duty round. Hey, you got me, bro. Good shot.
And so after 8 days of play, the decision was made to stop the game. By now, a few players had come forwards to Muscat in person and said, This game is affecting my relationship with other people here, and it's changing how I feel about work. 2 players had even stopped talking to one another entirely
so
and would
wild.
struggle to repair that relationship.
That's
even
so
in the months
wild.
Following Tank Tactics.
Over
having
Tank Tactics,
been a
bro.
thing.
It essentially just started to erode that confidence that everyone had that, in a really good team, you want to know that everyone has your back.
Now, if you've not played a game like this before, there's a chance you're sitting there thinking, wait, really? People got that upset about a game that looks like this? And
If you've ever played a game like Diplomacy, don't ever play that with friends, bro. I've never seen a game of Diplomacy not end in someone getting mad in real life. If you've ever played it, it's rare because it's hard. It's a long game. Diplomacy is literally designed to ruin friendships. I've never seen it not end in an argument. Literally always.
But as someone that's sunk days, sometimes weeks into similar games, I can totally believe it. About 6 years ago, I played a game called Subterfuge, not with strangers, but with some friends, including People Make Games' very own Quinton Smith. And not only did I betray
Roblox
him,
killer.
I printed t-shirts for me and the other player who did him in.
I'm sorry. I mean, he's the one that helped expose Roblox. Calling him the Roblox killer sounds like he murders children or something.
Even in that game, I found myself stressed out and at times genuinely emotionally drained by the interactions I'm having with total strangers.
England have just played in the Euros, but I need to check on Neptune's Pride just in case anything's happened.
There are a number of things that Tank Tactics, Subterfuge, and Neptune's Pride all have in common, but aside from the obvious need for diplomacy and betrayal, it's the huge time sink that really alters the relationships that players form with both the game and with one another.
That's the worst part of the time
Thinking about
sink.
Neptune's Pride, the idea of something like that intruding into an office where I'm working and the politics of the game needing to play off the very real life relationships I have, good and bad, oof, that feels dangerous.
Now, not at the time when I was making it, but now I really hate those kinds of games. Like all of the like social deduction board games are my absolute least favorite kinds of board games to play, like Secret Hitler and The Thing
that's fun.
and all of that. They just, something about them, like I just get so anxious, I get this knot in my stomach. So yeah, now I really don't like those kinds of games. So yeah, there's no part of me that like strongly regrets that game not existing.
That video was great. People Make Games has consistently impressed me.